You'll notice he no longer suffers delusions of humanity.
Affirmative.
Let me go ahead and give y'all a disclaimer now. I will not be recognizing the misnomer Black or African American. If you don't like it, fuck yourself. I don't care about none of it, nigga. We are the Indigenous American, and if you don't like it, once again, fuck yourself. I'm a real nigga, what? Let's get to it.
It says right here, behold the pale horse part 2, the black donkey. The boule. The who? Okay, man, this is serious. The boule, aka the 10 percenters, were formed back in the day by W.E.B. Du Bois to keep the 90 percenters down, man. Today, they mainly shake down white companies by using us as pawns on their own evil agenda. It's in the book.
That's some bullshit, man. Ain't no such thing as no boule.
Hell, they've got eyes and ears everywhere.
Welcome back, tribe. Today, we're going to talk about Sigma Pi Phi, or as a lot of y'all might know them,
the boule.
Now, today, we're not going to do an in-depth analysis of them and pick and poke holes and everything. That will be later on down the line. Today, I just want to get a basic background story on the fraternity. You know, in their words, we all have our own notions of who they are, but we'll get to that shortly. I more want to focus on asking some critical questions. Now, if you're a part of the so-called indigenous community, this ain't news to you, but I know a lot of you foundationally dead Americans out there will look at what I'm about to say here and ask here as probably treasonous when it's y'all who are the traitors. But that's another topic for another day.
Hey, why don't you share with the rest of us what you just said to me, you piece of shit, race-spreading nigger!
So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and read this short background on the history of the boule. Throughout, I will be asking critical questions, might make a statement here and there. So let's go ahead and get to it. Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, the boule. A brief overview, 1904 to present. In the article below, Rodney J. Reed, former Grand Sire Archon of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity and author of A Grand Journey, The History of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, 1904 to 2010, briefly outlines the history of the oldest continuously existing indigenous Greek letter fraternity in the United States. So before we get deep into this, let's find out what an archon is. Online Etymology Dictionary finds archon as one of the 9 chief magistrates of ancient Athens, 1650s. From Greek archon, ruler, commander, chief, captain. Noun use of present participle, arcane, be the first, thence, to begin, begin from or with, make preparation for, also to rule, lead the way, govern, rule over, be leader of, a word of uncertain origin. The Britannica defines archon as the following. Archon, in Gnosticism, any of a number of world governing powers that were created with the material world by a subordinate deity called the demiurge, creator. Although Gnosticism did not constitute a single movement, most Gnostics were religious dualists who held that matter is inferior and the spirit is good, and that salvation is attained by esoteric knowledge or gnosis. Because the Gnostics of the 2nd and 3rd centuries regarded the material world as outright evil or as the product of error, archons were viewed as maleficent forces. They numbered 7 or 12 and were identified with the 7 planets of antiquity or with the signs of the zodiac. Some Gnostic thinkers, such as Valentinus, developed mythologies inspired by the Christian idea of salvation through the incarnation of Christ. In these narratives, the demiurge and the archons were identified with God, the angels, and the law of the Old Testament, and hence received Hebrew names. The recurring image of archons is that of jailers imprisoning the divine spark in human souls held captive in material creation. According to some mythologies, the purpose of Gnosis sent from the realms of divine light beyond the universe through the divine emanation, Eon, Christ, was to enable Gnostic initiates to pass through the spheres of the archons into the realms of light. Founded on May 15th, 1904, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, also known as the Boule, which in ancient Greece was a council of chiefs, is the oldest continuously existing Greek letter postgraduate fraternity, originally founded by and primarily for eminent indigenous professional men and later similar professional men of melanated descent throughout the world. Its founders were 6 exceptional men, 4 medical doctors, 1 dentist, and 1 pharmacist, who at that time was a second-year medical school student. These men recognized the advantages of belonging to a special fraternity that would enhance and support professional careers and social relationships while simultaneously providing leadership and assisting to facilitate the enhancement and elevation of such underserved indigenous communities as those from which they mostly came and in which they professionally existed. They were Henry McKee Minton, a registered pharmacist and second-year student at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's Jefferson Medical School. Algernon B. Jackson, MD, the first indigenous American graduate of the Jefferson Medical School. Edwin Clarence Joseph Turpin Howard, MD, who in 1869 was one of the first 2 indigenous graduates of the Harvard Medical School. Richard John Warwick, DDS, a graduate of the Philadelphia School of Dental Surgery. Eugene Theodore Henson, MD, a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. And Robert Jones Abel, MD, the first indigenous graduate of Philadelphia's then Hahnemann Medical College, which is now Drexel University College of Medicine. The basic idea of the fraternity was conceived by Henry M. Minton and was refined and enthusiastically supported by the other founders. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. If fake ass slavery didn't end till fake ass 1865, and we didn't become citizens of the fake ass United States Corporation until the Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968, I want you foundationally dead Americans to explain to me how the hell these niggas learn how to be doctors and they didn't have no formal education in their formative years of life. Niggas just came off of, oh yes sir boss, we're gonna come up off the plantation, I'm gonna do open heart surgery. Shut the fuck up with your stupid ass. Sorry to get a little off track there. But it's a serious question. You got to think. A lot of the stuff y'all hold to be true is actually just stupid as fuck upon further investigation.
Sir, listen, I'm gonna make this clear. I'm in no way, shape, or form involved in any negative. You understand?
In its early years and throughout most of its existence, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity was a quiet, secret organization. Yeah, I bet they do want to keep a low profile. Snake in the grass niggas.
He's a fucking nigger.
Today, the fraternity can be considered private and, as was the case during its early years of existence, it avoids self-perpetuating publicity. Yet throughout its life, in addition to personal strength derived from the camaraderie shared by its members, the fraternity has embraced and remains committed to enhancing and elevating indigenous communities by striving to eliminate barriers therein to civic, social, political, educational, and economic well-being through its social action programs and public policy initiatives. And let's talk about those things that they listed at the bottom of that paragraph. You got social, economic, educational, blah, blah, blah barriers. They tell you they were breaking them down. But if you compare the history they told us with your own family's history and how things was going on in the timeline, you'll find out that these ninjas were the hindrance. We need to stop playing this game like these fake-ass civil rights activists did us any favors. They are no more than the BLM of old. Trouble-causing niggas that need to be dealt with and put out to pasture. Growth of the fraternity since its founding has been deliberately slow, as it was not to be conceived to be a large, indiscriminate body of men. Rather, the emphasis of membership has always been on quality, not quantity. These sly niggas tell you that it's quality over quantity. But I say that they looking for niggas that's gonna toe that line and not step off the plantation.
These are the niggas that we love.
And keep the story going, keep the scam going that's got us where we are right now, that's got me sitting in front of this camera talking to y'all. When we get deep into this, you're gonna see what these dudes were really up to, and ladies apparently, were really up to. Some of these names are gonna be notable. And then you're gonna look at these names from a whole new light. And if you go over to channels like Jim Redwolf and Dane Calloway specifically for this specific topic, he's shown you the clip of John Lewis admitting to screwing us over.
So Martin Luther King Jr. got back in touch with me and told me when I was home for spring break to come and see him. So in March of 1958, by this time I'm 18 years old, I boarded a bus. I traveled from Troy to Montgomery. And a young lawyer by the name of Fred Gray, who was a lawyer for Rosa Parks, for Dr. King, and the people involved in the Montgomery bus boycott, met me at the Greyhound bus station and drove me to the First Baptist Church in downtown Montgomery, pastored by the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and ushered me into the pastor's study. I saw Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy standing behind a desk. I was so scared, I didn't know what to say or what to do. And Dr. King said, "Are you the boy from Troy? Are you John Lewis?" And I said, "Dr. King, I am John Robert Lewis," but he still called me the boy from Troy. And he said, "You know, if you want to go to Troy State College, we will support you. We may have to sue the state of Alabama. We may have to sue Troy State, but we're prepared to help you. Go back home and have a discussion with your mother, your father. You know, your home could be bombed." That's what he said. "Your home could be burned. Your family could lose their land. Your family could lose their land. You could be beaten. You could be harmed." And I went back, had a discussion with my mother and my father. They were so afraid that something could happen to me, it could happen to them, or we could lose the land, lose the farm, or we could lose the land, lose the farm. So they didn't want to have anything to do with my attempting to enroll at the school. And I continued to study in Nashville. And from time to time, Martin Luther King Jr. would come to Nashville to speak at Fisk University, at the City Auditorium, tell the story of the movement. Rosa Parks would come there. And I stayed in touch with Dr. King. And he became, in a sense, my hero. In a sense, he became my big brother. In a sense, he became my big brother.
And why don't you share with the rest of us what you just said to me, you piece of shit, race-spreading nigger?
But we're gonna get to that next time. Thus, membership in the fraternity was in the beginning and continues to be extended selectively to outstanding men who are, at a minimum, college graduates with recognized professional accomplishments and a record of demonstrable commitment to the enhancement of the indigenous communities and their members. From an initial membership of 6 founders located in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity has grown to presently include over 5,000 active members who are affiliated with 139 member Boulé's chapters located throughout the United States and in the Bahamas and the United Kingdom. Throughout its existence, its membership has included some of the most distinguished men in the world. They have included such scholars and academic, cultural, and civil rights leaders as W.E.B. Du Bois, Carter G. Woodson, founder of the Association for the Study of Indigenous American Life and History, Charles R. Drew, physician who developed blood plasma, James Weldon Johnson, author of Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Indigenous National Anthem, L. Douglas Wilder, the first elected indigenous governor of a U.S. state, Virginia, and Martin Luther King Jr., founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and one of the most important 20th century civil rights leaders. Out of all the names we just saw in this part of the paragraph, the one name we gonna focus on is old MLK Jr. Yeah, he tried to, turn coat at the end and come back and try to tell us that he screwed us over. But the fact remains, he screwed us over. A number of indigenous U.S. congressmen have been members of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, including Charles B. Rangel, New York, Andrew J. Young Jr., Georgia, and later U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and Mayor of the city of Atlanta, Georgia, and James E. Clyburn, South Carolina, as well as two recently deceased members of Congress, Representative John R. Lewis, Georgia, and Elijah E. Cummings, Maryland. Other members of the fraternity have included John Hope Franklin, the most prominent indigenous historian of the 20th century, Daniel H. Williams, who in 1893 performed the first open heart surgery, Roy O. Wilkins, longtime executive director of the NAACP, Robert C. Weaver, who in 1966 became the first indigenous American to serve in a U.S. presidential cabinet, Thomas J. Tom Bradley, the first indigenous American mayor of the city of Los Angeles in the modern era, Paul R. Williams, a leading 20th century architect who designed the iconic floating restaurant at the Los Angeles, now Tom Bradley, International Airport, Andrew F. Bremer, economist, who was the first indigenous American to serve as a governor of the U.S. Federal Reserve System, and Samuel P. Massey, scientist, and J. Ernest Wilkins Jr., mathematician, who both worked on the World War II Manhattan Project that created the first atomic bomb. Both Wilkins and Massey later served as Grand Sire Archons, international president of the fraternity. Other members who were prominent scientists include Ernest E. Just, biologist, and the first recipient of the NAACP Spingarn Medal, Percy L. Julian, a renowned chemist, and a noted theoretical statistician, David H. Blackwell. Don't even get me started on the politicians. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the most notable ones that I spit every time I think of his name. I ain't gonna spit right now because I ain't gonna spit on my carpet. John Lewis. Rest in peace, you fucking milk dud.
I just want to cut that nigga's nuts off.
The shit that I heard John Lewis say, that he defied his parents, cost his clan the land that was in their possession, so he could go to school and gallivant around with goddamn MLK sitting on buses. Well, I ain't gonna say sitting on buses, marching and all that other dumb shit that ain't accomplished nothing but pushed us further down the nigga hole. Like Charles said, or like Samuel L. Jackson said on Django.
Then I says, shit, the niggas we sell to LaQuint Dickey got it worse than that.
And they're still here today. John Lewis just died. As they mentioned in the article, John Lewis just died. So what the rest of these colored ninjas in office doing? I know what they're doing. Congressional Dead Caucus. And all you other dumb senators and congressmen running around making us look a ass. Playing games. Don't even get me started on it. Some of these ninjas ain't even from this side of the border. Now, yeah, I know they're still family, kinfolk, they're American, got all that. But nigga, you live in the house across the street. You ain't gonna come over here and keep fucking up our shit, especially now that we know about it.
How could this have happened? A black white supremacist.
And another target I've acquired from reading this article, Andrew F. Bremer, the first indigenous governor of the U.S. Federal Reserve. That nigga got blood on his hands, and I'm gonna see how far his involvement was, because I didn't know that, and that's crazy to hear. Because those were the niggas running around taking our gold. You know, the currency before this fake ass fiat dollar.
I just want to cut that nigga's nuts off.
Members of the fraternity whose contributions are noteworthy in the arts and humanities include Hale A. Woodruff, artist, Arna W. Bontemps, poet, Ulysses S. K. and Ollie W. Wilson Jr., music composers, jazz greats William E. Billy Taylor Jr. and Wynton L. Marsalis, and Francis E. Hill Harper, actor. In addition, many present and past college and university presidents, including Benjamin E. Mays Morehouse, Charles S. Johnson Fisk, Samuel Dubois Cook Dillard, Norman C. Francis Xavier, and William R. Harvey Hampton University, are distinguished members of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity. In 1969, fraternity member Clifton R. Wharton Jr. became the first indigenous American president of a major university when he was selected to lead Michigan State University. 9 years later, in 1978, he was selected as Chancellor President of the 64 Campus State University of New York, SUNY, system. In 2020, fraternity member Michael V. Drake was named president of the 10 Campus University of California system, having previously served as president of the Ohio State University and chancellor of the University of California, Irvine. Sigma Pi Phi's present membership continues to include an impressive list of leaders in broad range of professional fields of endeavor, including but not limited to education, law, medicine, science, economics, public service, civil rights, and the arts and humanities. Incorporated in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1912, since 2004, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity has maintained its executive office in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, which is managed by the fraternity's Grand Grammatos, who also serves as its secretary. Importantly, since 1912, the fraternity has published the Boule Journal that chronicles new and ongoing social action and public policy programs and initiatives created and supported within the ranks of the fraternity. Accomplishments of members and their families, articles pertaining to historical and contemporary issues, and tributes to its recently departed members and their spouses. It is distributed in print format and electronically to each fraternity's active and emeriti members and widowed wives of former active and emeriti members. It is also distributed complimentary to the libraries of historically indigenous colleges and universities. The journal is edited by an executive level officer of fraternity known as the Grand Graptor. And don't worry, I've already got the link to all these little Boule journals. I'm going to read through them, see if I can find some interesting information to present to y'all.
Why don't you bring your media cameras over there if you want to see some real truth?
Sigma Pi Phi is unique among Greek letter fraternities in that it regularly involves the wives of its members, who since 1925 are known as the Arcusai in many of its activities. Moreover, and significantly, members of the fraternity take considerable pride in honoring the Arcusai at various special events held throughout the year, and especially during the Christmas season, when special formal celebrations, affectionately known as Christmas for the Arcusai, are held. In addition, the Boule Journal routinely highlights outstanding accomplishments of the Arcusai and immediate family members in its quarterly issues. Arcusai also serve as elected members on the Board of Trustees of the Boule Foundation, which will be described in slightly more detail below. The officers of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity are elected or selected biennially. Its chief administrator or international president is known as the Grand Sire Archon, who serves in that capacity for a single term of 2 years. Similarly, other executive level officers of the fraternity also carry the title Grand, and except for the Grand Sire Archon and 2 Grand Officers who are chosen by lot, may be re-elected. The fraternity is organized into 5 regions whose officers are elected and selected biennially in a manner that replicates those at the grand level and are known as regional officers, e.g. Regional Sire Archon. Similarly, each member boule is governed by a set of local officers whose titles mirror those at the grand and regional levels but omit the inclusion of either grand or regional, and whose jurisdiction encompasses only a local geographical area. In 1980, the fraternity chartered the Boule Foundation, a 501c3. So they're a 501c3, huh? Do we need to go any further than that? I could just shut this video down right now.
It's Boule, B-O-U-L-E, Boule. And this is the shakedown. That's right. You ain't cuffing with no white folks this time.
Not-for-profit private foundation that is supported by voluntary contributions from its individual members and their wives. It is an independent entity within the fraternity and selectively provides funding for student scholarships and social action programs and policy initiatives. Together with contributions from the fraternity, the foundation has also provided financial support to programs and entities that address the broader common good, such as the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of Indigenous American History and Culture. Further, to the extent possible, and together with specific contributions from the fraternity's members, it has provided financial assistance for victims of unforeseen calamities of nature, such as Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which devastated the indigenous American community in New Orleans, and the 2010 major earthquake in Haiti. So they were involved in the operations of Hurricane Katrina and the earthquake of Haiti. Now, if you've done your research, you know what was really going down, or have an inkling of what was going down in New Orleans after Katrina, and the dirty things the DOD and the government were doing then. So to know that the Boule was probably throwing money up in there, blood on their hands. Let's talk about the earthquake in Haiti. You know, the one where Hillary Clinton were out there stealing money through the Hillary Clinton Foundation, or the Clinton Foundation, whichever one it is. And I don't give a damn if y'all trying to tell me I'm defaming people. I don't give a shit. I'm not showing up to your punk ass courthouses. Come try to make me. But if y'all is involved with that, how good could they really be? We know they ain't good, but do you foundationally dead Americans know it's good? No, they ain't good.
I didn't think so.
For over 100 years, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity has served to enhance and strengthen the bonds of fellowship and professional support within its ranks. Additionally, and importantly, it is the fact that its members have provided and continue to provide leadership and assistance to establish, sustain, and improve essential resources for fulfillment and growth, not only in the local indigenous communities, also in selected communities throughout the diaspora. That was a damn ordeal to get through. But with all of that said, this is only the tip of that there iceberg. I will be back. All you ninjas that sold out my clan and my fellow family's clans, you will pay. Your time is running out. Ninjas is waking up. I suggest that you and all your little punk ass foreign friends get the fuck up out of here peacefully while you still can. That is not a threat. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's why y'all on this shit. Like Red Wolf tells us. Y'all know what the fuck is up, and I know what the fuck is up. And I ain't with it.
Now, you have to go deliberate. I don't need to deliberate. Hang that nigga now. I got the rope right here.
Sorry, I'm a little worked up, but I'd like to thank y'all for stopping by. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to share this with a foundationally dead American near you.
It's the only way to keep these crazy niggas under control.
Hey, why don't you share with the rest of us what you just said to me, you piece of shit, spray-spreading nigger?
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
Why don't you bring your media cameras over there if you want to see some real truth?
So say good night to the bad guy. Go on.
I am a human being. I exist.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions.
Send the word.